You know, I recently created a video where I commanded a clone army and we built this neat little base that you're looking at right now. At the end of that video, I asked you guys if you think you would like a part 2 to this, and you guys said yes, so here we go. Naturally, we begin where we left off in the last video with fields of mechanoid and human corpses. So naturally, of course, we're going to have to deal with that the old-fashioned way, by turning them into crispy little bacon bits that we can throw on top of our salads. It's just a shame that we don't have any ranch dressing for them. Oh well, we'll just make do with some of this synthetic meat. Maybe we can turn it into ketchup or something. As for the mechanoid carcasses, we'll let them rust outside in the rain until we're ready to shred them. During this video, we're going to be conquering other factions in our area. And unless you're a great big dummy, you probably already know that wars are expensive, so we're going to need plenty of steel, hence the mechanoid carcasses. Now we're going to need somewhere to keep all these resources, so we began digging out a large warehouse in one of the small hills next to the base. You know, in these videos we're always talking about killing things, but what about the important stuff like playing horseshoes with your buddies? Oh, never mind, they're leaving. Guess I'll just play by myself. Again. Alright, enough of that. Let's get back to business. We began building some machining tables because I had the bright idea to add the unofficial VE Shields add-on mod, and I was going to try to make some of these plasma force shield things. But apparently I don't know how to read because those shields can only be created at a fabrication bench, not a machining table, so we ended up going with some riot shields instead. However, before we had all of our shields completed, I decided to take everyone out on a raid. Everyone stuffed as much synthetic meat and rice as they could into their little clone armor pockets, and then we all began to head out to go and kill everyone. It took a little while to get there on foot, but eventually we did arrive and we found a bunch of hairy, furry, man-baby creature things wielding rifles. They were all ripe for the killing, and so we began our march against them. All of our soldiers had the biggest smiles on their faces. You'll just have to trust me on that one. Unfortunately, the battle itself was not very eventful. We easily decimated their entire base and all of their forces. So instead of returning home, I said, what the hell, we're already out here, we might as well kill everyone else. We went to two separate bases, and the attack on both of those factions went about as well as you thought it would. We rarely ever actually took anything from the enemy factions, like steel or any other resources, unless we just thought we might need it. The only thing we were really after was some competition, and there obviously wasn't any here. Later on, we ended up returning home, where we would then build a high-tech research bench. This way, we could truly speed up our quest for knowledge. We also finally began producing some of those riot shields that I had mentioned earlier. They were far from perfect, of course, but they were the best we could do right now until we get a fabrication bench, so we doubled down production on them. And then we tripled down on production and also began shredding up those mechanoids for steel. We also continued our work on defending the base. Now, I wasn't too worried about anyone destroying the base. We could always rebuild it, but these walls would hopefully have them all funnel in one place, making it easier for us to kill them. Rat Knight? That sounds an awful lot like a kill box. Oh, yeah, it sure does, don't it? But it's not. Hey, why don't you do me a favor? At one point, as we were all trying to enjoy some family time together with our clones, we ended up having a raid from the Federation. But unfortunately for them, their plump, meaty little robot bodies couldn't stand up to our blasters. Which is a shame, because I was really wanting to test out these shields. Oh well, there's always tomorrow. Believe it or not, they all got a bit tired of playing horseshoes with each other, so we decided to spice things up a little bit and build some chess tables for them. But you're not here for chess, are you? You're here to see me kill everyone. Well, lucky for you, our shields are finished, and it's time for us to go and raid some other people. But first, a little midnight snack. Can't murder people on an empty stomach now, can we? Off we go to commit more atrocities. I'm so proud of our little clone babies. They grow up so fast. We arrived at the enemy base that was apparently populated by pig people, but these little piggies didn't build their houses out of stone, so we immediately drenched them in blaster juice stuff. They died. On to the next one. Off we go to find more bases to ravage. Unfortunately though, even this Imperial base that we raided posed no challenge to us. Would there be no one to give us the challenge, the fight that we so desperately desire? We went base to base, faction to faction, looking for a real challenger. Yet every single time we would easily dispatch of our enemies. Even the Federation at one of their bases posed zero threat to us. At this point, I was more concerned that our soldiers might die to the common cold. Even so, though, our quest for knowledge had recently yielded some interesting results. We had learned how to take our battles to the skies with shipbuilding technologies. But even better than that, we had learned about something incredible: nuclear bombs. Now, these bombs were very expensive, but they could do as much damage as all of our soldiers in one go. Of course, though, we would need to test them to ensure that they were right for the job. Naturally, there was no one more fit for this mission than Commander Napoleon himself. Just after arriving on the outskirts of the enemy territory, Commander Napoleon began setting up his artillery cannon. He then began loading up the nuclear warhead and priming the cannon to be fired. And just like that, we unleashed absolute chaos upon this town. Dear God, what have we done? What have I created? I'm just kidding, I knew that was going to happen. I tricked you, didn't I? Oh, you thought I felt some kind of pity or empathy? Never. After realizing just how crispy these nuclear bombs could make all of our enemies, we began to head back home. But this really got me thinking. So far, we haven't met a force that could actually challenge us, so I intended on creating one. I created an absolutely massive mechanoid raid. Now, when I created this raid, I wholeheartedly intended for this to be the end. I intended for these mechanoids to just absolutely slaughter us. However, the results of this battle may very well shock you, as they did me. We would of course begin by using our nuclear arsenal against them. However, I didn't have enough resources, so I was only able to make small nuclear bombs. Though these nuclear bombs were very useful, unfortunately we weren't exactly accurate. So unfortunately we were only able to kill off the few that were trailing behind the main group. But that was quite alright, because what the nuclear bombs could not do, our brothers in arms could. Shield and blaster in hand, we were more than ready for this fight. As the mechanoids made their way around our walls, we began ripping into their units. And this is the part of the battle that really surprised me. Though they got a few good shots in at our soldiers with them all bunched up, we absolutely decimated the mechanoids. To try and even the odds, I dropped in 2 large raids of mechanoids on top of our troops. And this reminds me of a very valid question by our good friend Gavin Honey, I believe I pronounced your name right, who actually asks, why do you always bunch up your troops? A very good question, a very valid question. My answer to Gavin's question is to give the enemy some hope of winning. Even with the odds completely stacked against us, raid after raid we continued winning. After completely decimating an entire armada of mechanoids as well as the Federation and their meaty robots, I wasn't sure that anything could kill us. Every single faction on this planet now cowers at our feet, defeated by our almighty army of clones. Truly, we have created the mightiest army. Huh, what's this? A siege. Oh, they have no idea. Oh, to think these pitiful waster pirates think they stand any chance against us. Wait a minute, what's... Oh shit. Yes, unfortunately, it would appear these pirates came prepared. They have brought their own nuclear bombs. We were too busy fighting off the last of the Federation and the mechanoids to even realize what was happening. We unfortunately didn't get to really see any effects from the bombs. We mostly just got the really cool noises that they made, but we didn't get a lot of flames and stuff like that. However, regardless of what they looked like, they did finally manage to stop our clone army. I mean, in the end, I suppose it is justified. We killed hundreds of thousands of people. Besides, none of us ever really make it out in the end, do we? A special thanks to our patrons Leldy and Brocky TV for making this video as well as all others possible. You guys are wonderful. If any of you watching would like to become a patron and support your favorite noble rodent, the link to my Patreon is in the video description as well as the channel bio. But I would like to thank you all ever so much for watching. I love you guys so much. You are amazing, and I hope to see you very soon in the next one. Goodbye, guys.